Hello, good to see you again. This is section number 8, and we're going to talk about web APIs. In this section, we will talk in the first video about what APIs are and how they can provide programmatic access to online services. Then, we will pick one test API and start interacting with it. Then we will go through more complex examples, such as retrieving prices from an online API for cryptocurrencies, and then retrieving weather forecasts from another API, but this time using an API SDK. In this first video, we will talk about how we can work with APIs and what APIs really are. So we will state what an API is, and then we will go through some example scenarios, real-life scenarios that are enabled by the usage of APIs, and then we will take a look at some of the most famous APIs out in the wild. So, what is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface, and that you probably already know from the previous videos. This is an interface, a software interface, that allows your software to talk to other software. But when we talk about specifically the World Wide Web context, we refer with the term APIs to something that is called web APIs. And usually people talk about APIs standing for RESTful Web APIs. We will talk about this in a moment. So basically a web API, as the word says, is an HTTP-enabled interface that allows your software to manipulate things such as datasets and operations on such datasets that are provided by online services. Online services are called web services as they run on a server, which is called web service and is capable of interpreting the HTTP protocol. You usually want to consume web APIs because you want to make your software and use data and operation provided by a lot of online services, probably. But if you ever have to write one, you can basically use any kind of programming language and web server technology, and you can build your API using any interaction style. For example, REST is one of them and is a resource-oriented kind of API. And then you can use SOAP, which is more operation-oriented and so on. But that said, you have the freedom to build whatever you want as long as you document it to your potential API consumers. So this is the situation, basically. We have software, which is called web service and can be built using any programming language, PHP, Go, Ruby, whatever, and runs on a web server. This web server exposes what are called API endpoints. Each endpoint is an address, which is URL, as you know, and is there to be called by HTTP clients, which we call simply clients, through a proper HTTP method. In this example, we're calling from the client using an HTTP post. We're calling the endpoint EP1. And each endpoint provides access to a specific functionality on a specific web resource or a collection of resources or other kind of operations, depending on the API. What is interesting is that APIs are conceived in the world to allow machine-to-machine communication. They are not conceived for human consumption. While HTML and web pages and websites are conceived to be consumed by human beings, APIs are conceived to allow software to consume data. And software runs on devices, and as you know, there's a lot of connected devices in the world, such as cars or smartwatches or desktop application. Even your home might be connected and using APIs from online providers. So that's the point with APIs. They simplify and standardize inter-machine communication. There's a lot of scenarios that are enabled by the usage of APIs. Basically, if you do own a mobile phone, then the applications on your phone use APIs. For example, also desktop software might use APIs, and there are more, exotic cases in which you can write bots that trade stocks on the market using price APIs. Or, as you might know, there are under study self-driving cars that are capable of calculating the quickest route to your destination just using data traffic taken from APIs. There's a lot of scenarios. Sky is the limit there. So this is just a showcase of famous APIs. You might know some of them, but basically any kind of interest has APIs, from e-commerce to payments, messaging, or just cloud services, search engines, and so on. A lot of companies also use APIs internally as a way of having their servers communicate and exchange data in order to provide a better service to the customer audience. So in this video, we learned what a web API is and how it can be useful to your own application. Then we went through some sample scenarios that are enabled by API usage. And then we went through a showcase of famous APIs, but this is just an omnicomprehensive list of them.